Did Caitlin Clark accidentally break the WNBA? It sounds wild when you say it out loud, but that's basically the conversation a lot of people are having right now. Not that she did anything wrong, not that she's to blame in the way some trolls would push it, but that what she's done on the court and what she's become off it has completely warped expectations around the league. And now, with a strike or lockout very much on the table, people are starting to connect dots. We're in one of the craziest moments in WNBA history. Sold-out arenas, telecasts smashing previous viewership highs, debate shows talking about the league like it's finally part of the bigger sports conversation. If you're a fan of women's basketball, this is the kind of visibility you've dreamed about for years. At the center of it, whether you love it or are tired of hearing her name, is Caitlin Clark. Her transition from Iowa to the Fever didn't just bring fans with her, it brought an entire new layer of mainstream attention the league has never had before. College fans followed, NBA fans who never watched a WNBA game before tuned in just to see if she would really pull from the logo at the next level. Brands sniffed around, media companies realized there were real numbers to chase here. Now, while all that is going on, the WNBA and the Players Union are locked in tense collective bargaining talks. The current deal is expiring. An extension bought them some time, but not enough. If the two sides don't find common ground soon, the players can strike, the league can lock them out. Either way, the 2026 season is suddenly a question mark, not a guarantee. That's the context for a social media post that started this whole Caitlin Clark is indirectly destabilizing the league argument. The idea isn't that she's sabotaging anything, it's that what she's done on the court and what she's become off it has completely warped expectations around the league. And now, with a strike or lockout very much on the table, people are starting to connect dots. Here's how the logic works. Before this current boom, WNBA players were already pushing for more respect, more visibility, more money. They'd been talking openly about how weird it is that you can be one of the best basketball players on the planet and need to go overseas in the winter just to scrape together a decent living. They were already laying the groundwork for this CBA fight. Then Clark hit, and suddenly those conversations felt a lot less theoretical. Her games brought in casual fans at a scale the league had never seen before. Highlight clips traveling outside the WNBA bubble, sponsors wanting to get involved not in 2 years, not once things grow, but right now. When that happens in any sport, players notice numbers. They're not blind to numbers. Over the past couple of seasons, you started hearing a goal that used to sound like a fantasy. $1 million salaries in the WNBA. Not for everyone, obviously, but as a real target for stars. That's a huge psychological shift from where the league was even 5 years ago. Recently, numbers thrown around in reports, offers topping out somewhere in the $1.3 million range, were described by some players as not enough. Think about that. 2 or 3 years ago, $1.3 million for a WNBA contract would have sounded like a dream. Now, in the eyes of some, it's almost lowball territory. That's how fast expectations have moved. From the player's side, it makes perfect sense. They see the ratings, they see the extra coverage, they hear everyone on TV calling this the most important moment the W has ever had. They feel the demand when they go into opposing arenas and hearing boos or cheers directed at them, because fans recognize who they are. They know there's more money in the system than there used to be. So their logic is, if we're driving more interest and that leads to bigger deals for the league, we deserve our share. For years, we were underpaid compared to our impact. Now there's finally leverage. Why on earth would we not use it? It's not greed so much as catching up. But there's another way of looking at the same situation, and that's where the tension really lives. People on the skeptical side are saying, yes, attention is way up. Yes, games look and feel bigger. But no, the financial foundation is not automatically there yet. The WNBA has never been a massive profits machine. For a long time, it was subsidized heavily by the NBA and team owners who believed in the product long term. Margins were thin. Some seasons, there basically were no margins. So when players talk about doubling or tripling top salaries, raising caps massively, and reworking revenue splits all at once, critics ask a simple question: where's that money coming from today?
From that vantage point, the fear is that growth at the top, ratings, buzz, individual fame, has outrun the actual infrastructure. Media deals, ticket sales, sponsorship revenue, streaming numbers, those take time to stabilize. One hot season isn't the same as a decade of proven steady growth. Layered on top of that is the uncomfortable truth that a lot of the current momentum really does orbit around one player more than the league as a whole. Caitlin Clark is unique, not just good, transformative. You don't get fan bases traveling like they did, away crowds cheering her louder than home players, articles in outlets that never covered the WNBA before. She's at the center of that. That's not an insult to Asia Wilson, Breanna Stewart, or any of the other incredible stars who've held this thing up for years. It's just acknowledging reality. Casual fans are, right now, more Clark-driven than league-driven.
Some fans and analysts worry that in that environment, a bit of delusion can creep in. If you're a player who isn't in that top echelon of popularity and you look at the numbers and say, "We're exploding, we should all be getting paid like crazy," but you're not honest about how much of that explosion is tied to Clark's magnetic pull, you might be overvaluing your individual impact. It's like when an NBA role player on a team with LeBron or Steph hits free agency. The cap spike might be real, the TV money might be real, but if you pretend every team is lining up to throw money the way your current team benefited from their superstar, you can price yourself out. In the W's case, misreading where the growth is truly coming from could push both sides, players and owners, deeper into gridlock. Owners may say, "We love that things are up, but we're not going to sign up for permanent triple-digit salary growth based on a star we don't even know we'll have in 10 years. Players may say, "You can't ask us to carry this momentum on rookie-scale salaries and travel conditions that don't match the hype." And timing is everything. If this labor showdown happened 5 years ago in the middle of relative flatness, it would be painful but not necessarily catastrophic. Right now, it's risky in a whole different way. Casual viewers don't have deep roots in the WNBA yet. They're just getting into it. They're starting to learn names, pick favorite teams, understand rivalries. If the next big headline they see is WNBA season canceled due to lockout, a lot of them won't wait patiently through months of negotiation updates. They'll move on and maybe never come back. That's the doomsday scenario people worried about momentum being halted keep talking about. You do not want to be the league that finally cracks into mainstream conversation and then promptly disappears for a season because the two sides couldn't figure out how to split a pie that isn't even fully baked yet. On the flip side, plenty of observers are cautioning against panic. They'll tell you labor tension is part of the growing pains of every serious league. The NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, all of them have gone through this. Players start out with very little leverage. Popularity grows. Money flows in, just not to them. They organize, they push, they risk work stoppages. Eventually, they force new structures that long-term actually help stabilize things. From that viewpoint, the WNBA's current drama is almost a badge of honor. It means the league is finally important enough that these fights matter. It means players are finally in a position to not just quietly accept whatever is given. It means the women's game has entered the same messy, high-stakes space every major men's league lives in. The truth is, both sides are right in different ways. The players are right to demand more. Underpayment in women's sports has been a constant. The fact that some of the best players in the world have had to spend their winters in Russia or Turkey just to pay bills has always been wild. If the current attention gives them leverage to fix some of that, they'd be crazy not to use it. But the skeptics are also right to point out that numbers on social media and TV graphics don't automatically equal sustainable cash in the bank. The WNBA's bookkeeping doesn't flip from red to deep black just because of one season's bump. Media rights money is real but locked into contracts. Expansion fees help, but aren't an endless stream. Owners do have to worry about whether the current wave is a long-term tide or a short-term surge driven by one megastar. And Caitlin Clark is right in the middle of that tension. Her influence is double-edged. She's opened doors for other players to ask for what they're worth. She's proven that women's hoops can pull numbers that would have sounded insane a decade ago. But she's also revealed how exposed the system is when it leans too heavily on one individual player to carry league-wide metrics. That's why people are saying she's indirectly at the heart of this CBA chaos. Not because she's causing problems, but because her presence has made everybody, from players to owners to TV networks, think much bigger, much faster. And when growth spikes faster than the infrastructure underneath, things get unstable.
Ultimately, whether the WNBA comes out of this stronger or weaker will come down to how both sides handle this moment. Can the players secure big jumps in salary, better working conditions, and a share of the upside without pushing negotiations over the cliff? Can the owners acknowledge that holding the line too hard now risks losing the exact players and fans who are finally making their product valuable? Can everyone, and this includes us as fans, be honest about the fact that a huge portion of this spotlight right now is Caitlyn-driven, while still giving proper respect to the women who have been grinding in this league long before she arrived? Because if they can't find that balance, if this turns into a game of chicken where neither side blinks, then the league's first real moment in the sun might end up being the thing that burns it. The rise of Caitlin Clark didn't create the WNBA's structural issues, it just turned up the lights so bright that nobody can ignore them anymore. Now it's on the players and the league to prove they can turn that light into something lasting, not let it explode the whole system when women's basketball is finally where it always deserved to be.